democracy and future. My name is Godwin Sunday. As Nigerian marks yet another Independence Day, the question of nation building comes sharply into focus. 65 years after attaining sovereignty, the country stands at a critical junction, a mix of a remarkable achievements, persistent challenges, and renewed aspirations. From governance and leadership to economic resilience, national unity, and the fight against corruption, every Independence Day reminds us of how far we've come, and more importantly, how much more work still lies ahead in building a greater nation. What are the lessons from our past, the realities of our present, and the blueprint for a better tomorrow? Joining me tonight to examine these issues is Comrade Walmart Dabokiabo, PDP chieftain and a political analyst. Well, stay with us. We will take a short break right now. When we return, the conversation will begin. Of course, you can call this the independent and a conversation of Nigeria. Please go nowhere. The conversation begins immediately after this break. Welcome back. Well, a lot of people be wondering what is the Nigerian flag doing just by my side. Well, it is just to show also solidarity and celebrate Nigeria on its 65th independence celebration. Of course, people say I'm the only one celebrating Nigeria, but here in the studio I am with Walmart. Comrade, you're welcome to Corero.
Thank you for having me.
It's a delight to always have you on the show.
Thank you. Same here.
Well, let's even talk about the Nigerian independence in general. I think I'm the only one celebrating independence as it stands right now because I took a walk around the city of the Abuja, the Federal Capital Territory of Nigeria, and the celebration is nowhere to be found. Recall that prior to this time, we have children walking on the streets, a parade here and there, but it is a silent celebration. But then let me even get you talking from this angle. Is there something that is wrong with our independence, or is a independence celebration a miss priority for Nigeria? And that's why we're not celebrating it.
Thank you once again for having me. I think it's not a miss priority. Independence Day is worth celebrating, irrespective of your political affiliation or whatever you believe in, because it's a significant event, an event that led to we today as a people standing to be identified with what we want to be identified with compared to before we got our independence. So it is something worth celebrating, and people like us feel very saddened, to know that the present government cancelled the 65th Independence Day celebration of this country. Is without no good reason, no cogent reason to that effect. This is an event that people every year look up to celebrate our freedom and our independence from the British colonial administration. So the government has not given us any reason, and because of the announcement of the government, the sudden announcement, it has reflected on the people, and that's why when you went through the streets of Abuja, you see that people are busy doing other things instead of celebrating this special event, the 65th Independence Day celebration of our great country. Is quite unfortunate. And to me, it's a show of failure of governance and this present government.
Well, we'll come to that part of the conversation, but then let's look at this whole independence celebration. It tends to be a celebration by just the federal government, as in the federal tier of government. The sub-regional government tend to be far from this conversation. A lot of state governors were laid back. Could this be as a result of the federal government's announcement of the non-parade and other things? That's why the sub-regionals also have decided not to celebrate the independence in Nigeria.
I think so, because, whatever we do in this part of the world, we always attach politics to it. And that's why I believe some of the states, or most of the states, did not engage in the celebration. Just some maybe to please the president, some in solidarity with the president. But the question is, why was it cancelled? That is the question. And is the president telling us, or the federal government telling us, that the federal capital is so insecure that they cannot celebrate our 65th Independence Day? Is it that Nigeria is so broke that they cannot afford to celebrate the 65th Independence Day? So what is the reason? No reason has been given to us as Nigerian citizens that are proud to want to celebrate today as our Freedom Day. It's unfortunate that we discover it trickled down to some of the states. And it's as a result of the head. In theory, we are practicing federalism, so to speak. But in practical, it's unitary system we are practicing. Because everybody look up to the center. Even the governors want to please the president because of the enormous power residing in that office of the president. You saw what happened in Rivers State. So that is just the issue. Today, I'm here to speak as a Nigerian, not as a PDP chieftain, as a political analyst. So that is the simple truth. And that's why we see that at the sub-regional level, we are having this kind of ripple effect of the celebration being low-key, or even zero, what I'll call zero-key, because there's no activities to that effect.
But in fairness to Nigerians, is this 65th independence, is it worth celebrating?
The truth is that freedom is worth celebrating.
To Nigerians at this point in time?
Yes. It is only when you have experienced slavery you appreciate freedom. And as a student of history, I appreciate freedom. No matter the regime that is in power, be it a government that is widely accepted or is not widely accepted, the most important issue is that we are free from the colonial masters that has caged us, that has subjugated us for so long. And today, we can do things for ourselves. So it's worth celebrating. I'm not looking at it from the prism of the present government. I'm looking at it from the prism of the freedom our forefathers fought for and achieved.
All right, so let's look at this whole independence celebration, but then let's take it again to the president's speech earlier today, where the president made a lot of lofty speech and taking us back to history and how far we've come and where we are right now. But in general, what do you make of the president's speech? Is it gearing Nigerians towards the pathways of patriotism? Is it stirring Nigerians enough? Is it pushing Nigerians enough towards even defending their territorial integrity? What do you make of the speech in general?
Well, the speech of the president lacks objectivity and some truth. Because I listened to it when he was dishing out figure, how they have made progress in this area, in that area, in revenue, and so on and so forth. You're talking about revenue, about how many trillion you've generated within the first quarter of 2025, and so on and so forth. But what is our debt burden today as we speak? 149.85 trillion naira. 149 trillion naira. And you claim that you are generating revenue. It doesn't inspire, it's just figures. His speech is not inspiring at all to Nigerians. And that's why I see nobody is talking about it, because Nigerians are fed up of speeches without, impact. Speeches that don't reflect the reality on ground. Speeches that does not express the feelings of the average Nigerian citizenry. Does not showcase what should be done or what has been done by the government that Nigerians should be proud about. So we are not excited about the president's speech.
Even though the president have said that we are better off right now, and his government has delivered on its mandate. The All Progressive Congress has delivered on its mandate, and Nigerians are right now happier than where we were 65 years ago.
No, you see, you cannot compare. When the president should say the truth. In his days, when you're in boarding school, they take care of you, everything. Today, do we have that? So the president should not go to that aspect at all. The truth remains that this government has done very well retrogressively. In order, they have failed. Looking at insecurity. Just look at insecurity. Talking about the economy. Which aspect will the president come out to hit his chest and said the government has performed? None. It's all figures. What we want is the average man on the street of Abuja, on the street of Kano, on the street of Meduguri, on the street of Sokoto, on the street of Port Harcourt, feeling the impact of the government. You remove subsidy, for example, without any palliative, any cautioning effect. You just remove subsidy. And he said, no, subsidy is not good for us. There is all the countries the president is, gallivanting to, they subsidize up to food. They subsidize electricity, they subsidize education, they subsidize, as they call it in America, gasoline and the rest of them. And you are removing that, that has direct impact on the average Nigerian. And you are boasting that you are more money to the state to steal or to do what with? That subsidy, what we expected the president to do is to look at the leakage. You don't throw the baby with the bathwater. Look at where there are issues and address that issues. But the problem, you remove the subsidy. Today, Nigerians are suffering. Look at the cost of fuel. And you're saying that more money to the state. Okay, more money to the state. Are Nigerians feeling the impact of that more money to the state? The answer is no. Hunger everywhere. Go to the street of major cities, go to the villages, you hear complaints left, right, and center. So the federal government has not done anything so far to impact the life of Nigerians. See your colleague, a journalist that was just killed in the capital city by armed robbers. It's disheartening that our leaders don't put to practice what they promised before they are elected. That is the issue we are having. And in this part of the world, we don't respect people based on their values. It's based on the large pocket they have. Otherwise, if we're holding people based on their words, some people do not find their way to power. Moreover, this government, the APC-led government, from the late President Buhari to our present president, they gave us all sorts of promises. Today, where is it? We have not seen any. All we keep on hearing are figures and stories. For crying out loud, how long are we going to do that? Our founding fathers did not act this way. If they acted this way, some of them wouldn't have been able to even afford to go to school.
Well, Comrade Womat, you've talked about enjoying freedom as a Nigerian, and that's one thing we should celebrate.
Very well.
But a lot of people within the political school of thought, political science, and using the lens of a political scientist, will say that Nigerian is still far from being free. The Nigerian is right now tilting towards what Kwame Nkrumah will call neo-colonialism. How will you react to this honor, the present-day Nigerian's freedom?
You see, the present-day Nigerian freedom, I will still insist, is worth celebrating because Nigeria is free. When we talk about neo-colonialism is different. People allow neo-colonialism to come on board. And who are those people? Leaders, compromising, going for aids to foreign countries, seeking for loans. Collecting loan is a new colonial process. That's why, as an historian, I don't believe in the Bretton Woods institution, like the World Bank, the IMF, and so on. Their policies has never improved Nigerian economy. So I don't believe in them. So if there is anything like neo-colonialism, Just like what Rodney said, how Europe underdeveloped Africa, how Nigerian leaders ensure that Nigeria is being recolonized. That is how I see it. Because today we are talking about freedom. The Europeans don't have direct impact on us. They don't rule us directly. So we have liberty to reject whatever offer they make or, overtures. But today, our leaders, common medical treatment, they go abroad. None of our leaders, 99% of our leaders, their children are schooling abroad. And you are still coming up. I feel our leaders should be ashamed enough not to come and talk to the press until they address such issues. Medical tourism, educational tourism, and so on. And you are coming to address us. If there is anything like neocolonialism, as let's say, it's African leaders, most especially Nigerian leaders, that has bought into it, and not that it is forced on us like they did in the pre-colonial period, where they use coercion to take over our land and introduce their system of administration. No, there are two different things. There are two different things. It's our leaders that are responsible for the neocolonialism that is being, infiltrated into our country.
Well, comrade, let's talk about the president's speech, where the president said that it spoke about the youth, particularly the Nigerian youth, and he made mention of the fact that the government is doing quite a lot of things to address youthful concerns of Nigeria, especially the provision of credit corps, the provision of youth creed, and under the renewed hope agenda of Mr. President, that they are doing magnificently well. But going to the streets earlier today, I've got to find out from youth on what they stand. I realized that a lot of youth disagree with what the president have said in terms of these all the promises of the renewed hope agenda on the average Nigerian youths. But then you are more on also within the Nigerian space to understand and interact more with youth on the wider range. When you look at what the president said about Nigerian youth and the progress that has been made so far, let's try to tie it up with what even the youth told me earlier today. Will you agree with the president's speech in terms of the youth making more innovative progress right now in the country than what we have prior to this time?
Well, the truth means that the writers of the speech of the president, are poor writers, because most of the things in the speech of the president are just propaganda. We are talking about youth. Where is the job opportunity? Where is the job opportunity? You brought student loan, for example. How are the students going to pay those loans? Do you imagine that? After schooling, you must have work to be able to pay the loan. So if the government gives you loan, and after studying, there is no job for you to work and pay the loan, how do you pay the loan? So, it's half-baked policy. It's not a well-planned policy. It's just want to impress Nigerians. So in the area of even youth, the government is not doing it. Look at jobs at lucrative establishment of this country. It's their children. I was reading the other day, the leaders of this country, their children, the paper even went as far as mentioning Akpabio and the rest of them, how their children are taking jobs from very lucrative agencies of this country. And he said the youth. Which youth? That's the question. When you talk about the youth, who are you talking about? There's nothing the government has done as regards the youth. Everything is on paper. It's not on ground. No impact. That is a problem with leadership. Nigerian problem is leadership.
Well, the Minister of Youth will disagree with you.
He will definitely disagree. He will protect his principle.
Of course, he will say that they are doing quite a lot of things, especially within the youth crate, to provide enough innovative space for the National Youth Service Corps, and also looking at the whole credit corps for Nigerian youth. It has also provided a platform for Nigerian youths to also make progress, constructive progress.
I will, rather than giving credit to the government, I'll give credit to the Nigerian youth, because Nigerian youth are doing their best in spite and despite the harsh economic condition, to be innovative and creative. It is not as a result of the government's support or policies. It is as a result of the resilience of the average Nigerian youth. That is the simple truth. Those of them that have said, I'm not going to leave my country, I will not jackpot. So they are there to make sure that they make a way out of this hard economy. So the president or the government, federal government, will not come and take credit for such innovative, and creative activities of Nigerian youth. No, it is not as a result of how many percent of the youth have they, been able to push into such a area. See, the problem we are having in this country is our leaders are not sincere to themselves and much more to the citizenry. That is the problem. Look at Singapore. You must commit class suicide to be able to develop Nigeria. But our leaders' greed and reckless and mindless pursuit for wealth is what is putting us in this mess. Lee, Yang in Singapore, look at what he did, how he transformed Singapore. One leader. Today, we have leaders that will promise heaven and earth only to make sure that this country, if it is only to make sure that we have electricity 24 hours, none of them, they'll go forward, they'll come back, they'll move this way, they'll move that way. They cannot do that. Today, which country president that you see, have you seen American president going to another country for medical treatment? Have you seen the British Prime Minister or the royal family in Britain going out, or the Canadian Prime Minister or President? Which of them? But every minute you hear our president has gone for medical this, medical that. Meanwhile, we have the best doctors in the world. We are not utilizing them. Now, I'll give you an example. Do you know that today, as we speak, Nigerians are becoming resistant to malaria drugs, which means any moment from now, the death rate for malaria as a result of malaria, virus will increase. What is the government doing for research to take place to ensure that, after the quinine came this artemether and the combination, yes, what next? Because you go today, I'll be receiving call, I treated malaria, nothing. What is the government doing? Our government don't think, our leaders don't think. All they think is the next election, all they think is how I'm going to get money, all they think is to weaponize poverty. And that's why we are not making progress. So they cannot come up and say they have done this for the youth. What is the impact? What is the percentage? How you went to the street, you saw. How the youth are saying no, they are not feeling any impact.
Well, Comrade Womack, let's look at this whole policy by the government and try to juxtapose and do a comparative analysis of the government policies from 1960 till date. Have we made significant progress so far?
From 1960 to date, you see, there is no way we wouldn't have made any progress. That is the simple truth. From our independent constitution, we had our first constitution in 1914 to 1922 to 1954, then 59. Then we had the independent constitution. We have the 1963. We have the 1979, and so on. So we have made progress. That is the truth. But Nigeria is bedeviled with bad leaders. Leaders, as I said, they are reckless and mindless. Greed for power and wealth has caused this country great harm. Otherwise, I led a committee last 2 weeks to Niger State. I saw people picking gold the way we pick Prewinkle in the South. This country is beyond worldly. This country is so rich, but the problem is leadership failure. Chinua Achebe said it in his book. Leadership failure is the problem. But they keep on coming to give us the impression they are performing. Believe you me, it is all paperwork, nothing on ground.
So you don't agree that for the last 10 years that we made more significant progress than the administration?
In the last 10 years,
in the last decade, we've made more significant progress.
We have made significant progress in the retrogressive approach. They've dragged in the last 10 years, Nigeria has gone back, instead of moving forward. Nigeria is just rolling back. Look at the policies. In 2015, our debt was 12 trillion. In 2025, our debt is 149 trillion. In 2015, our exchange rate was about 160 naira to 200 naira. Today, as we speak, our exchange rate is 1,500. That's something. So, what is the significant progress made in the last decade? Nothing. Looking at it, nothing. All paperwork. Because when you say progress, it's something that people should see. It's something that we should feel the impact of a government. So you cannot come up and say that we have made progress. In what area? I want them to come and tell us in what area that we have made progress. Looking at it, even some of their statistics is working against them. Even in the speeches of the president, look, Peru's statistic, some of them is against him. Go and look at Debt Management Office statistics. So the truth remains that in the past 10 years, Nigeria has retrogressed so badly. Look at the suffering everywhere. Look at the insecurity. So if you look at what has happened within the past 10 years, Nigerians will be regretting why they gave the opportunity to this government or the party in power, the ruling party, to come on board, because they sweet-talked them into power. And they saw the reality, they couldn't do anything. And they started taking the country backward from our image to our international to the reserve, to debt. So which aspect? I dare them to come and say the aspect they have made significant progress. It's heart-aching that today, most especially our electricity, our health sector, our educational sector, you can't write home about them. Look at the policy that was introduced, the TSA, to check corruption. What have they done about it? So, Nigerian leaders are the problem of this country. If you look at other countries, you see what they have done. They have rejected neocolonialism. Neocolonialism, I can tell you, when you talk about neocolonialism, it's not that they will come and colonize you. They use multinationals.
Well, comrade,
yes.
Let's talk about this whole independence celebration.
Yes.
The turnout, the reactions of Nigerians right now. For the last 2 years of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's administration, we've seen low turnout when it has to do with independence celebrations. Just last year, almost similar thing happened, but we experienced this year where there was no parade by military personnel. We've seen a reoccurrence of that particular decimal playing out again this same year. I'm asking at this point, should Nigerians be talking about even declaring a day for independence, or we should be rather having the conversation around postponing Independence Day and making it like another official day, and rather doing something extraordinary in order to mark the significance of the day, other than declaring public holiday, knowing fully well that it is not what it used to be before?
No, I'll say that it's just like if you are not able to celebrate your birthday today, does not mean you should cancel.
So in the space of 2 years, well, one in the space of 2 years,
if a particular government has failed,
we've not celebrated
yes.
The significance of the independence, and we've suspended the military parade has literally gone into the oblivion as it stands right now. The sub-regionals, you've agreed with me that the sub-regionals are right now not even, they are standing in solidarity with the president and they are playing to the political gallery.
Yes.
The Nigerian youths are not even coming out. The children are not parading in most states. So right now, we just come out to say, okay, we've declared a day, we set aside a day for independence celebration, October the 1st. But right now, it holds no water. Shouldn't the conversation be that we should rather look for a more subtle way to celebrate the independence other than declaring a full day as a public holiday?
You know, I interact with some elders. They say it's only a young person that did not experience the Nigerian Civil War that want to call for war to take place, happen in Nigeria again. You see, that event is very significant. Not minding if a particular government or regime celebrates it or not, it should remain the way it is. Because a regime or a government will come that will celebrate it, that will appreciate the importance irrespective of the challenges the country is facing. So that should be, we shouldn't, change it and make it a day just like every other day comes and go. No, it's a day worth celebrating, and we should celebrate. If the government doesn't celebrate, it does not mean we shouldn't celebrate. We can celebrate as individuals.
But you've seen the different tiers of government, from the federal government through to the state government. The local government are even in this regard, the local government are completely absent when it has to do with the Independence Day celebration. And if these 3 tiers of government are not celebrating the Independence Day, as it were, you're saying at this point that a child that has never seen war will be the one clamoring for war. Well, in this particular regard, a lot of youth have seen the whole retrogressiveness of government in, government out policies. We've seen the backwardness that democracy has allegedly brought Nigerians. In this particular stance, I'm curious, should we be talking about independence celebration and declaring a day as holiday?
Yes, we should. And why? You see, it's one of our historical events. It's not just a day.
Even though the government of the day...
No, the government feel... They've exposed their ignorance
of... the government of the day, past and present, does not reflect the independence of Nigeria. Even though the average Nigerian seem to be under shackles. Even though the average Nigerian seems not, if not economical shackles, they tend to be under political shackles. They tend to be under all forms of shackles. They tend not to be free. You are saying that the average Nigerian should celebrate.
Yes.
Because it is a day set aside.
Yes. Why we should celebrate it, say, if you just suppose what Nigerians experienced during the colonial period and what we're experiencing.
We're talking about current day
reality. No, we are talking about, I'm going to there. Yeah, then you see reasons why to celebrate. You see, and that's why when they stop history in our schools, I was so unhappy, and I knew that we have leaders that does not appreciate the future and cannot do anything for its country. No country. In fact, one of the first courses you are taught is the history of your country. And the failure to do that is some of the things we see today, because we don't attach importance to our own history. And when you don't know your history, nobody values you because you don't know your worth. Your history is what will make you appreciate yourself and for other people to appreciate you. And if our leaders today that saw it are depriving those that did not see the independence happen and want to, celebrate it, the opportunity to celebrate it, it is left for them. A government will come that will appreciate it and that will celebrate it. Because believe it or not, the Independence Day celebration is expedient and important. It's an historical event, not a social event. It's an historical event that tells the history of this country, that talks about the foundation of this country. If you don't celebrate people, okay, happy independence, what happened, that is when you know what happened in this country. So it is important. Talking about the reality we face today, yes, we are, some people are being subjugated politically, economically, culturally.
The word subjugated. Actually, some people feel that they are still in shackles.
No, that's what I'm saying.
So when you say subjugated, it makes the word look very mild.
No, not mild, because what I said, it is not as bad as when we were under the military, what is it called? The
colonial era.
The colonial era.
All right.
That is one. Number two is that you can speak today. It's just that we have a system that is deteriorating, as I said, or that you can speak. Then you cannot. But now you can speak and you can air your grievances. No matter the economic shackle you are, you definitely find a way out. Political issues, you can raise your voice to say no, even though they are subjugating you or you are in a political shackle. A day will come, definitely you come out of that, because you are a citizen of this country and you are independent. It's an independent nation. So that is clear. But looking at it from the angle of individual, the suffering, another, I want to agree with you on that aspect. That yes, Nigerians are going through a lot that want to make them not to see reason to celebrate their independence. But no, if you don't have the resources to celebrate your birthday today, does not mean you shouldn't celebrate it. A time will come, you have the money to celebrate it, So that is how it is. But Nigerians are not in a shackle to the point that they shouldn't celebrate an historical event such as the Independent Day of our great country. No.
Well, a lot of Nigerians will disagree with you even on this stance. Young Nigerians will say that Mr. Wilmot probably is speaking from his own perspective.
No. See,
let's take that to be your own perspective.
No, that is the danger of we not teaching history in our schools. I read that they've reintroduced it. That is the danger. Today you go to America, you see how people want to sacrifice their military because they are taught history. The average American understands the history of America. But the average Nigerian, you ask it, forget about it. And that is the same attitude our leaders are putting up. Because they know after amassing wealth, they can run out of the country. So they don't care. So the celebration of Independence Day bring to mind the importance of the freedom we achieved in 1960 and in 1963, because that is when we became a republican nation. We are absolutely freed. We are freed from the British crown. So that is one thing. Well, until you conscientize people, until you enlighten them to know the importance of this, they won't. And our National Orientation Agency has failed on that. They have royal history. They teach the royal family the history of the royal family to understand their heritage. The heritage of Nigeria starts with the 1960. We can take it from 1914, but 1960 when we became independent, because we're talking about an independent nation as Nigeria. So that is expedient. Nigerian leaders, the Orientation Agency has failed. How did they, free Europe? It was through enlightenment. They enlightened the people, pamphlets, and so on. The people who read and see. We have not conscientized our people to know the importance and appreciate the importance of our Independence Day celebration. Otherwise, the street will be shut down every Independence Day celebration. But rather, you see a nonchalant attitude in our people, in the average Nigerian. And you don't blame them. It's the leaders of this country you blame, because they've not enlightened them. They've not put the economy of this country in a state whereby Nigerians will be happy on their own, can go out and celebrate their independence. See what happened in America when they are celebrating their Independence Day. Everywhere is shut down. You see them flying their flags everywhere, even private homes. But you don't see that in Nigeria. Why? Because our leaders have failed the citizenry.
So let's talk about some of the things that the government has done so far. In the last decade, we've seen a decline in the celebration. Yes. I recall growing up, independent celebration, we will be somewhere around amusement park in Lagos. There'll be a march parade from schools. Even as it stands, we will do the march parade from one locality to another, celebrating, flying the Nigerian flag. That's why I'm used to the Nigerian flag right now. I put it everywhere as long as the Independence Day is concerned. But as it stands right now, is there light at the end of the tunnel for the average young Nigeria, even to key into the vision of celebrating Independence Day? Because right now that vision seems very dim.
I will want to urge Nigerian youths to keep hope alive with this country, because no one will change the country. Let me give you an example. This is not Nigerian flag. What you have is not Nigerian flag.
Okay.
Because Nigerian flag, you don't have coat of arms. It's green, white, green. So this is a creation. It is not a Nigerian flag. The official Nigerian flag is green, white, green. These are things they've not conscientized. They've not educated the average Nigerian. Our time, we saw it. It's a big celebration. Schools people dress, go, even when you are not part of the team that will march, you go to the stadium to see. It's a big thing it's a forfeit to salute the governor or the president or the chairman. To some will even have handshake and so on and so forth. It was a big event, but they've killed that consciousness. They've demoralized it in the average citizen. So Nigerians don't see, what should I celebrate? There's a lot to celebrate. And that's why I want to urge our youth that it is important until you, even some of our youth, if you interact with them that has left this country to go abroad, and when they suffer, racism, I told them that is just less of what our parents suffered under the colonial reign. So that is why you should appreciate our Independence Day celebration, and that's why we should celebrate it. But the problem is that these leaders has failed. But that notwithstanding, if we can conscientize ourselves as youth, we can change this country. Look at all the leaders that led this country. They were in their 30s, 25. Gowon, His Excellency, General Gowon, was a bachelor when he became the head of state of this country. He was not married. He married while he was the head of state of this country. So the youth should start studying history. Until they go into the history of our past leaders, they will not be incentivized to want to look out to change this country. All of them is today because the youth are, withdrawn. Because the leaders have suppressed them. They don't aspire to the top. They don't aspire to cause change. And you see old, genocrat leaders everywhere. Otherwise, before now, all the leaders. I remember the military administrator is now His Royal Highness in Bayelsa. I think His Excellency Speed, latest Speed, was 25 or so when he became the governor, military administrator of Rivers State. 25! So what are we not talking about? Nigeria, until we go into our history, we see these things, then we can confront these people. Then we can challenge them. We can remind them, look at these persons. Look at this person. You, when you became governor, how old were you? So why can't I rule this country? We did not too young to run bill. After they signed it, it died because they've been able to monetize our political system. So the youth don't have that capacity to contest for certain position because they will need the financial resources to do that. But if the youth are being taught history, they will be conscientized enough to know that they are the one that should change this country. We shouldn't wait for all the countries you see today. Foreigners did not change it. In fact, there is a period they call in Japan, the Tokugawa period. They shut down the country. If you are a Japanese, you're out of the country, you don't fly in. If you're a Japanese in the country, in the Japanese soil, you don't fly out for almost 50 years. That was how they built Japan, without one natural resources. So what are we talking about? Nigerian youth should go and study Nigerian history. Look at the age of those that ruled this country. Look at the impact they created when they were young. And now that they are old and still want to remain in power, they will have the reason to push them out. They will have the reason to say, no, these people must go on retirement. If you're working with a federal government, at 60, public service, you retire. Teacher, 65. Judges, 70. But some of them have crossed that age. They want to see. In their private business, they've retired. They've handed over to their children. But they want to rule Nigeria. It is because our youth are not being taught history. They are not being conscientized. That's why the leaders are depriving them the opportunity to know the Nigerian history. Because if they know it, that will be the end of most of these leaders that are, that recycle themselves in power. So our youth in this country should begin to study Nigerian history from our independence, even before then, and will appreciate why Nigerians' Independence Day should be celebrated and why they should, put their feet and make sure that together we develop this country.
All right, just before I let you go, because I've been signaled that it's time for us to go, any last word for Nigeria as we celebrate even independence today?
Definitely there is a word for Nigerians. I want to say that we should keep hope alive. We should believe in this country. We should not be docile citizens. We should call our leaders to accountability, and the youth should call. See what happened in Nepal. I don't support the violence aspect of it, but I support the fact that they resisted. They showed that, yes, we don't want this. The youth can come up today and say, we don't want any leader that will go abroad for medical treatment or send his children abroad, and if you do that, we will not vote you. If you do that, we'll take this action. And the youth can change this country. So I want Nigerians to celebrate our Independence Day. It's not just an event, it's an historical event. Very important. and we should also study our history in order to appreciate the celebration of our Independence Day. God bless Nigeria.
Well, Comrade Walmart and Dakebo, I want to say thank you so much for finding out time to be with us here on Correro.
Thank you for having me.
But viewers, this is how far we can go tonight here on Correro. Don't forget that you can join the conversation by following us across all our social media handle currently showing on your screen. And you can also download the Rapid TV app from your Android and iOS devices to keep track of our broadcast. I am Godwin Sunday. Always remember that peace and unity are the pathways to progress. Do enjoy the rest of your evening and happy Independence Day to all Nigerians.